pointers in the fourth quarter. That was huge for this turnaround. LeBron Luka 30-point double-doubles, but it was Gabe Vincent 3 for 3 from 3 in the fourth. And then how the Lakers closed out in OT for a 113-109 win over New York. Latest on Jalen Brunson's ankle. Chris Haynes says Knicks are optimistic it's just a sprain. Karl Anthony Towns said next man up after he saw Brunson go down. Knicks script, same as it's been. Can't get the W versus those better teams. No oomph to close out games. David, up top, what was the biggest takeaway from Lakers 113, Knicks 109?
So, yeah, there are a couple obvious takeaways here that LeBron and Luka have cemented themselves as the scariest duo in the league right now. Okay. The Jalen Brunson ankle injury is scary and devastating for the Knicks if it's a long-term thing. But for me, the biggest takeaway is I do not want to hear anybody talk to me about Karl Anthony Towns as a meaningful contributor to a championship-level team for the foreseeable future. This guy did not show up for this Knicks team last night, and now you have against the teams of the Lakers, Cavs, Celtics, Thunder, he is averaging 16 points per game against those teams. Last night, that 12 points was not enough. When Brunson goes out, he wanted no part of that basketball. He took one shot in the last 14 minutes of that game. So you add all of that together and you have what comes out as a guy who has not shown up in a meaningful game at any single moment with the Knicks uniform on his back, and I have no belief that he will do that come playoff time.
Kevin Clark, your takeaway from last night, Lakers over Knicks.
Yeah, first of all, a little unclear on how David Dennis feels about Karl Anthony Towns after that one. We'll keep an eye on that going forward. But no, for me, it's funny. Karl Anthony Towns said next man up for Jalen Brunson. Carl, I cover the NFL. I hear next man up all the time. That's usually code for we're screwed. In the NBA, if there's no Jalen Brunson, if there's no superstar, there's no playoff run. That's it, right? But for me, my takeaway is the Lakers. And my takeaway is, to the surprise of no one except one executive in Dallas, Luka Doncic, is an unbelievable difference maker. On the defensive end last night, 4 steals. He guarded 10 isolations, only 2 points given up on those isolations. The Lakers have now won 10 straight games against teams with winning records. That is the most they've won in a row against winning records since 2000 when they won 16 straight. If that does not scream contender, I don't know what does. They are a contender.
Glenn Yates around the horn to you.
Big-time contender. I tell you all the time, Tony, there always comes that point of the season where I say to myself, this is a team that can win the championship, and last night was last night. 33-19 run over the past the final 6:45, including overtime. They completed their first double-digit fourth-quarter comeback of the season. And, David, those two guys, LeBron and Luka, haven't just gelled. They're only the second pair of teammates to ever have 35-5 in consecutive games, period. They can win it all. That was clear last night. That's what I took away from that. The streak is one thing, but the way it actually looks on the court is another. I'm serious. J.J. Redick has his team in fine form. The defense, as Kevin mentioned, is great. Yeah, they can beat anybody.
And Tim Kalishaw, take away from last night.
Tony, my first takeaway is it's just great to be here in Dallas watching Luka play for the Lakers and Jalen Brunson play for the Knicks.
Man.
To know we're a farm system for these teams. It's really good. But I agree with all that's been said about the Lakers. Who would have guessed that having the best player the last 20 years and a first-team All-NBA guy last 5 years, who would have guessed that they would be good together, that would be a good thing to have? But it is. And as you said, Gabe Vincent, Dalton Connect, Austin Reeves, when he's healthy, they're going to have wide-open threes, as many of them as they want to take when you play with Luka and LeBron. And the other thing the Lakers do is they always have Luka or LeBron on the floor. So they get their own chance to run their show, and then they play together in meaningful minutes down the stretch. And this looked like a game they would lose. They found a way to win it. Yes, the West is very winnable.
Gabe Vincent, kind of a found player, right? They didn't really get anything from him his first year, and now coming up, Reeves didn't have the game that you would want from him yesterday, and then there's Vincent. So the Lakers are still finding themselves, and they're liking what they see on this win streak. But now, tomorrow night versus the Celtics, another great game. The history well documented. David, is this a big test for either of these teams right now?
Yeah, this is a huge test for that Lakers defense, which is one thing they've been doing. They've been hounding the big, and they've been allowing players that they feel are bad three-point shooters to shoot open threes. The problem is with the Celtics, they don't have really any bad three-point shooters. Everybody can chunk. They just had Peyton Pritchard and Derek White score 40 points each in the same game. So we're going to see exactly how good that Lakers defense is, and if they can, etch themselves into that top contender category with the Thunder, Cavs, and the Celtics.
JC, bigger test for Boston or LA tomorrow night?
I like the Lakers here. As David said, they're the best defensive efficiency team in the NBA since the start of February. That's going to be special here. I think they're just trying to find themselves right now. To go against the defending champions, I think, is really important. They're going to learn about themselves at the bare minimum. I like
Glenn
them
Yates?
over the weekend.
They did it on the road against Denver, the Lakers did, but whether or not they can do it on the road against Boston, I think is another issue. They got a 4-game road trip here. They finally get back to the Suns. I think that entire trip is going to be as indicative of anything as just that Boston game.
To see.
I just think it's a big game for Luka. He knows he played against this team in the finals, and he wasn't fully healthy going into that series. Played really poorly in Game 3, played great in Game 4, but this is a chance to go back to Boston and show people again what he can do.
Move on. NFL now. Trey Hendrickson. Go find yourself a trade. Day 2. When the Bengals gave him permission to look for a trade earlier this week, did it feel like it fell for Matthew Stafford and the Rams and that he'll be back in the end? Or is this case with Cincinnati different? That's one question I have for you. Hendrickson, 4 straight Pro Bowls, first-team All-Pro this past year, led the league in sacks with 17.5. So you have somebody still with their peak of their powers as well in this odd circumstance. Go find yourself a trade. Kevin, how do you see this?
I'm confused. I thought the Bengals were going to ignore this trade request. The report last week was, they want to keep all of their guys. No, from my perspective, they're going to pretend to keep all of their guys long term, or they let some of them go because the Bengals don't spend cash like other franchises do. I want to give you a stat from Warren Sharpe. Jalen Hurts and Joe Burrow signed their extension in the same offseason. Since then, the Bengals have signed one guy to a contract over $40 million. That's Logan Wilson. The Eagles have signed 8 contracts over $40 million. They pay everybody. The Bengals pay nobody. This Trey Hendrickson thing is a symptom of a Bengals franchise that doesn't sign guys early enough to kick the can down the road. I don't know if they're going to trade him. I don't know if this is a Matthew Stafford situation, although I would never compare the Rams to the Bengals and they say, hey, your market isn't what you thought. You don't want to go to that team, whatever. Why don't you stay? But what I do know is the Bengals need to figure out a way to pay and keep their superstars.
I hear you.
Because this is not getting them any closer to a
And you gave us that great stat that they don't spend money, although that was from Warren Sharpe, so maybe I'll give that to Warren Sharpe when he comes by. But real quick then, is there a destination? Is somebody salivating at the chance to have the guy who just led the NFL in sacks and is a 4-time Pro Bowler, first-team All-Pro, KC?
Yeah, I mean, every team needs a player like that. The Packers should call any team that basically wants to compete. They should get 25 calls right now. They should get 25 calls because there's a lot of teams that are a Trey Hendrickson away from real deal competition.
Glenn Yates, around the horn to you.
I want to expand on those stats, and I'll just get them right here. Number 3 in pressure percentage, number 3 in pass rush win